All right. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for joining us. As always, it wouldn't be a true virtual experience if there wasn't a few, technical difficulties. So there's always something that happens. And just like this one here, it looks like the PowerPoint just dropped. But I do have Hank on the line right now. This next session is going to be A Daughter's Cry Goes Unanswered. And, Hank, if you could really quick, I'm not sure if you can, but if you can send me your PowerPoint, that would work as well. Or you can just go ahead and talk through it, and everyone will be able to hear you. And we'll be able to do it that way as well. So I want to present to all of you Mr. Hank Hunt. He is the president of the Carrie Hunt Foundation. Again, this session is A Daughter's Cry Goes Unanswered. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Thank you, Ricardo. Hello, everyone. Sorry about the technical screw-ups here. They're all on my end, I'm quite sure. We live out in the country, and the internet we have out here is not that dependable. What I wanted to do is just tell you a story. This is entitled Daughter's Cry Goes Unanswered, and it's dealing with the pain, the hurt, and the unintended consequences of caring. The story I want to tell you is about a little girl by the name of Carrie. She was born on February the 9th, 1982 in Austin, Texas. I was pretty nervous about it. This was our first child. Wife was in labor, and I call it labor. It wasn't, Carrie was an appointment baby, which means there was going to be a C-section. So the doctor made an appointment, and we knew what time she was going to be born. But I still was nervous, and not knowing what we were going to face, with the first child, and the icy roads. It was in February in Austin. Believe it or not, Austin actually had ice that time, and it was a slow go to the hospital, but we made it. And this was probably about a week after being home, and couldn't help but get that friend from her every chance I could. She was very happy her whole childhood, unless she was in trouble. And yes, that did happen. And but even through that, a lot of times her smiles endured. Her smile was contagious. And here you see, this is her sisters and cousins. They're waiting on Christmas presents to open, and pretty anxious there. As she grew up, she was pretty curious about a lot of things. We used to look through telescopes and go to Enchanted Rock, camping and fishing, and she loved to do that along with her sisters. And but this was one of my favorite pictures of her. That's her personality right there. And she liked to clown around. I don't know where she got that from. The story I like to tell about her, give you an idea of where I'm headed with this, is when she was about 8 or 9, I had a little 4-wheel drive Bronco too. I took her out to a lower side of Mansfield Dam in the northwest of Austin, and just a couple of dirt trails out there. Nothing muddy or anything like that. And we came up on a creek about 15, 20 feet wide. It wasn't very deep, and it had a lot of large, smooth stones in the bottom of it. And I started to go through it, but my better judgment stopped me, and it wasn't anything huge. It certainly wasn't dangerous, but trying to set a good example for Carrie as a father, and told her that we shouldn't go for it, and she protested big time. And after a few seconds of silence, she looked at me. She grabbed the shoulder belt, pulled it tight, and reached up and grabbed the handhold by the door and looked at me and grinned real big and squealed, "Chicken." And as you could possibly imagine, we made it through the creek, water splashing up onto the windshield. A bumpy ride, and Carrie laughing. I'm sorry, excuse me one second. Laughing and squealing the whole time. We made it through that creek several times, and then it was time to head home. It was a perfect end to a perfect day, or so I thought. Um, if you have children, you can tell anybody that they would do anything to protect their child, and I was no different. We made it back to the road, little 2-lane road, muddy but happy, and jumped on the 2-lane road that would take us across Mansfield Dam and then home. And we had just crossed the dam when I noticed the car coming toward us started to drift over into our lane. Carrie saw it too, and when I lifted my leg to hit the brakes, I knew in an instant he was going to hit us head on. And to this day, I do not know what made me hit the gas, but if I hadn't, we wouldn't have made it. The cars passed each other within inches, and I remember seeing the man's face grimacing. Later on, we found out he had suffered a minor heart attack. And with Carrie screaming, I hit the brakes and skidded to the shoulder, trying to convince her that we were okay. That wasn't enough. She fired, and I had to get to her. That's the main thing that I had to do right then. I had to get to her, so I got out of my seatbelt and got out of the car and ran around to her side and unbuckled her seatbelt, only to have her grab me so tight I had a hard time breathing. Nurse traveling behind the man in that station wagon stopped and checked on him, and then came and checked on Carrie and I. Carrie had calmed down, but would not let go of me. You want to protect your children in every dangerous situation that may come along. That day I felt helpless until I got that seatbelt off of her. I hated that feeling, and years later I'd feel that feeling of helplessness again. Growing up, she was very family oriented and always wanted to get together whenever possible. This is one of her high school senior pictures, and she noticed Carrie has a lazy eye on her left eye, and she looks exactly like her grandmother, and because she has the same lazy eye, and she was proud of that. She eventually got married and was excited to start raising her own children, but she was most happy with all of her family was together. This is a birthday celebration for my wife, DJ, and it was pretty good food, if I remember correctly. As time went on, the marriage began to sour for Carrie. Things I saw were eyebrow raising, but nothing that caught my attention as needing to interfere due to danger until now. I was so blind. Looking back, I have to believe she was giving hints, but was maybe too embarrassed to say anything. Hindsight's 2020. Brad, her husband, took the only vehicle they had to his employment when he had a job. Most of the time he was unemployed and slept all day, then played video games all night. During the day, Carrie would call me almost daily. She was so wrapped up in those children. Every day, day in and day out, she was at home all day with the kids. When she called, I never could get a word in edgewise. All she talked about were those kids, and she spoke of them with so much love. I think she just needed an adult to talk to, and I always asked her how her day was, and usually she would answer, "It's been a good day, Daddy." It was those days that she didn't say that bothered me now. And I wish I had seen that or heard that. But through it all, the smile was there. Her husband, Brad, never was the type to keep a job. He was very persuasive in wanting something, and he even got me once, but things started stinking when I started paying attention. Eventually, he and I didn't see eye to eye. I remember one time he was at our house. I think it was around Thanksgiving time, and Carrie wasn't one to take anything from anybody, and they were verbally arguing with each other. And she walked by him, and he told her to shut that up. And I let him know in no uncertain terms I never wanted to hear him say that to her again, and especially in front of kids. And that was pretty much the last time we did anything where we got along together. After 10 years, Carrie decided that the abuse was enough and decided to leave. With family support, she made that decision. Carrie was financially and verbally abused constantly. She was kept at home, was never given money, never had good clothes unless we gave it to her or we gave her money. And usually I would sneak her money because I knew their situation. I would give her money to tell her to go buy clothes, but she would pay bills with it. And that really bothered me. And after being separated from Brad for about 3 weeks, he wanted to see the children. He had come in from Lindale, Texas to Marshall, where Carrie was staying with her sister. He rented a hotel room, and Carrie agreed to bring the children to him. After arriving at the hotel, he convinced her to come inside to talk and discuss what was going on. And after entering the hotel room, she made sure the kids were settled. They were all in the bed watching cartoons. Meanwhile, her and Brad had gone into the bathroom to talk privately. During the discussion, Brad had asked her not to leave, but she was adamant about it. After realizing she was serious, he asked for one last hug. Carrie obliged, and while she was hugging him, he had a knife in one hand. And since everything had apparently been going as he planned, he continued with his plan. He hugged her with one arm, and with the other arm, he stabbed her. She screamed. He stabbed her again. She screamed, "Bree, call 911." He stabbed her again. She screamed, "Brad, you're killing me." He stabbed her and stabbed her and cut her and stabbed her. And he would not stop. During all of this, Brianna, 9 years old, did as instructed and called 911 from the phone in the hotel room. And it didn't work. She tried again, nothing. She ran to the bathroom door, screamed for her father to stop. She then pushed her younger brother and sister out into the hall to go seek help. She kicked the bathroom door again and screamed for him to stop. He didn't. She ran to the phone again and dialed 911. Nothing. Because Brianna was never able to reach 911 for help. Carrie died that day. A coward runs, and that's exactly what he was. After doing what he did, he actually cleaned up. Said this is his testimony, and I don't know that's true. He was always self-serving. He was bloated with self-importance, and during court, he described that he cleaned and kind of wiped Carrie's face, and she actually spoke to him. "Don't let the children see you this way," is what he said. And he left the knife stuck in her neck because he said he couldn't get it out. And that was one of the things that prevented Carrie from being able to open the bathroom door. Anyway, he left the hotel. He demanded that Brianna bring her brother and come with him, to which Brianna screamed, "We're not going anywhere with you." He snatched Kylie and took her with him. After about 4 hours, he was caught about 70 miles away in Atlanta, Texas. Kylie was traumatized, to say the least. And when he exited his vehicle, he asked the arrested officer, "Is she dead?" The officer asked, "Is who dead?" Another officer picked Kylie up and took her to his car, where he told her that he was going to take you to your mommy. After 4 hours and a 45-minute chase, the arresting officers did not know a murder had occurred. Numerous agencies were involved, yet none knew Carrie had died. Communication breakdown that day was rampant. Whose responsibility was it to inform these officers on scene what had happened? I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. Across from the hotel at a restaurant, my daughter Laura and her husband Chris were having lunch at a restaurant. Chris chose to be the one to call me with the news. They had seen the lights and they went across over there to see if they could get the kids and There were other family members there, and I was still 40 miles away. And Chris was the one who chose to call me with the news. The phone rang. I saw it was him when I answered. I said, well, he said, Brianna and Zane are fine. I never thought to ask about Kylie. I just assumed she was okay. Then I asked, well, what about Carrie? And the pause was deafening. I became instantly concerned and started to sit down on the fireplace hearth. And when he said, she's dead, all I remember is hitting the floor. I begged him to tell me it wasn't true. And I kept begging him to please tell me that. And then it was just silence on the phone. So I hung up. Saw my knuckles bleeding from digging into the carpet. I called my wife. She was in Fort Worth Christmas shopping with her mom and sister at a huge Christmas market. I had to say it twice because she didn't comprehend what I said. Then muffled sounds, a scream. It did nothing. So I hung up. Then her sister called me back and I told her. After that, my mother. And it was the first time in my life I heard my mother scream. And I never want to hear it again. I didn't know it then, but I was broken. That did it for me. I was done. Rock bottom and digging. The thoughts that went through my head frightened me in the days and months that followed. Still to this day, I feel guilty for not being there. I should have been there to protect my child. Am I right? I should have been there. I didn't know she was going to meeting. Still should have been there. That, my friends, is unearned guilt. Earned and unearned guilt. Well, there's a big difference, and sometimes people get them confused. This is earned guilt. Hey, you'll rob a bank, feel guilty? Well, you earned it, so bask in the glory. Unearned guilt. You get that call, the one that haunts you. It could be a suicide that was followed through on. You heard it after trying to talk them out of it for hours. A car accident victim that stays on the line with you until you hear their last breath. You go home, their voices, the gunshot that ended the conversation you were having and was so diligently trying to help that person. That's unearned guilt. It isn't yours to bear. Find a way to realize that. It's up to you. Sometimes it's hard to get the bad stuff out of your head. You ever try to get water out of your ear after swimming? Yeah. At the police station that afternoon, about 2 hours after everything happened, Brianna was sitting in my lap with her head against my chest. She mumbled something, and when I asked her what she had said, she raised her head and stared directly into my eyes and said, I tried 4 times, Papa, but it didn't work. I said, what didn't work? And she said, 911. You know, why didn't 911 work? And she looked at me and she said, I don't know. And still looking at me directly in the eye. I looked at the detective on the case, and in an instant, we both looked at each other, and we both knew what happened. And if we had curled our lips back in anger any further, we would probably have had to have surgery to get them straightened out. I looked at Brianna and I said, well, Papa's going to fix it. And it wasn't until she looked me dead in the eye again, stayed there for a few seconds longer, and then said, okay. And I knew I had just made a mistake. Oh, shit, now what do I do? I have no clue what 911 is or what these telephones are. It's just nothing. I mean, nothing. State of mind is everything, though. Your body can do miracles. It's your brain you have to convince. And that was the hard part for me. Why wasn't Brianna able to reach 911? Because on most multi-line telephone systems, you have to dial a 9, an 8, or whatever to obtain an outside line. Here's a good example. This is Disney World of all places. If you did not read the front of the phone, you would not know that in an emergency, you have to dial 3333. These are the problems that I discovered. thousands of them. And this was taken to the FCC, and they got involved with it. That's another story. Well, not knowing anything about what I had just promised a 9-year-old little girl that I would do, I kind of floundered. Finally, I found an answer on social media. I knew what I wanted, just not how to get there. It was suggested that I start a petition on change.org, so I did, hoping to get several hundred signatures to show my congressman how much support I had. Proved I was probably a little gullible about all that. All in all, after it was said and done, I was able to walk into my congressman's office in Washington, D.C. with over 600,000 signatures from around the world. If you think at this time I was happy or elated about the success we were enjoying, don't kid yourself. Even today, I feel her around me. I hear her. And the worst feeling of all is I miss her so much. When you can't stop hurting from something traumatic, the pain seems to increase with time. No one can fix you but you. You don't need to do it alone, but ultimately you're the one that can fix you. You can keep a lot to yourself. You may keep a lot to yourself because you think there's no one out there that will understand, and that's a bunch of bullshit. You have peers in the same boat. You learned about peer support earlier. Sometimes your heart needs a little more time to accept what your head already knows. That was a hard part for me. I visited Carrie almost daily. I say visited Carrie. I went to the cemetery almost daily for months. And gradually, I made myself not do that. It was making my wife worry, I believe, and it was unnecessary. I found out that when I go to the cemetery, I feel like I can talk to Carrie, but I found out I can talk to her anyway. After all the hobnobbing, all the plane trips around the country, all the visits Mark and Dan Wilson made, Mark Fletcher, the demonstrations that proved 911 didn't work, the getting pissed off at tech companies that didn't care or were trying to pad their pockets off Carrie's law. After all the nights of sleeping, maybe 2 hours because you're afraid you'll have that dream again or you have a presentation due tomorrow, you watch as the U.S. Congress votes at 4:30 in the morning unanimously to approve a bill with your daughter's name on it, on what would have been her 36th birthday. Like I said, you may think it's weird, but I talk to Carrie all the time, and this day, I just looked up and I said, it's been a good day. Then, this happened on the 50th anniversary of the first 911 call in Hadyville, Alabama. We were in the Oval Office. Making a long story short, the right people sought me out after making the story public. Little did I know this had been a problem for many years. It wasn't until my daughter died and I raised enough stink that anything was done. And without Mark Fletcher, or Fletch to others, Carrie's law would have never occurred. His painstaking efforts, sleepless nights, and full-on dedication to Carrie and Brianna saw us stand together in the Oval Office on February the 16th, 2018, when President Trump signed legislation bearing my daughter's name. So success was had. That's the end, right? Well, the Carrie Hunt Foundation is dedicated to ensuring that 911 remains the lifeline that it is, and that the future holds strong for the telecommunicators that serve us well. We are entering a new phase that will shine a light on the problems we still endure with our 911 system, such as where's all the damn money taxpayers give for 911. For the past several years, we have studied and are currently developing a program to bring awareness to domestic violence, advocacy for the 911 community concerning funds collected for improvement to PSAPs and equipment needed that seems to never make it to the places taxpayers think it's going, and teaching children to know and trust how to call 911. Meister Eckhart said, and suddenly you know it's time to start something new and trust the magic of new beginnings. I want you all listening to me to do something. I want you to do your job with gusto and determination. Then after work, whether you've had a horrible day or not, I would like to see you all go home, hug your family, let the laughs and hugs outweigh what the job laid upon you. Then after an evening with loved ones and it's time to lay your head down for the night, think of Carrie, give a thought to her, and say to yourself, it's been a good day. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. Don't stay in your comfort zone. Don't feel safely wrapped up in a blanket. You have to venture out. You have to make sure that well, first of all, don't quit. If you're already in pain, you're already hurt. Get a reward from it. Strength doesn't come from what you can do. Strength comes from overcoming the things you thought you couldn't. Henry Ford said, failure is the opportunity to begin again more intelligently. And each day is a new beginning, a chance to do with it what should be done, and not to be seen as simply another day to put in time. A tremendous thanks go out to all of you for what you do under the headset. A special thanks to Ricardo Martinez for all you do for the 911 community and for the friendship. And for all of my fellow presenters, great job. That's it. That's all I've got. I'm sorry. I apologize for the technical difficulties. And it just, oh wow.
No, don't worry about it. I'm right here with you. This so I don't think you can see it or anything, but you'll be able to see it in the replay.
No, I see it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I put a picture of, these are the pictures that you gave me when we did the round table.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I wanted everyone here in the session to at least be able to see some of these images. And as you were talking, I remembered that I had it. So I put this up on there so that everybody could see Carrie and connect, this human connection. And I could not have there was no way we were not going to do your session. I have you on my phone right now. People don't know this, but
right.
I called you and we're going through the system that I have here so that you could share this powerful, meaningful story. And
well, I appreciate it, Ricardo, and the stuff. What you've done for the 911 community is just tremendous, and you just keep growing and growing. And congratulations on that. We're behind you all the way. Don't ever stop doing this.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. And just listening to you talk about Carrie and stuff, and you had me like I'm teared up right now just because of everything, the story and the drive, the promise, how you say, I said I was going to fix this. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but you did it. And all of you, everyone who was a part of this, and you continue to do it through the Carrie Hunt Foundation. Now, how else can people find out about the foundation and more of what you are doing?
Well, they can go to carriehuntfoundation.org. We do have a new website coming in a few weeks. It's going to be, we'll have so much more information available to anybody that wants to see it there. And they can always find me on Facebook making stupid jokes. And also, if anybody is close to a map, try to find Charter, Texas for me. It's
that was perfect.
Hiding. That
was very, very good.
I think I'm getting close to it. So
even better. Now, if you get a chance, please do send me that the PowerPoint, and if it's something that we can share, we can definitely add that to your profile on the website for all the speakers, so that people can take another look through the PowerPoint and such, and maybe even come back, and listen to the story and go through it on their own time with this. But again, thank you so much for everything.
Was the PowerPoint not showing?
No, not on this end. The PowerPoint didn't show, so that's why I had put these pictures up so that people could to at least have that connection there. with your story, with Carrie's story, and with DJ and everything. So, again,
Appreciate it.
thank you for everything. And for those who are watching, we are going to be moving to the next session, and I will bring all of you over there with me. Again, Hank, tremendous. Thank you so much for everything. I
Thanks,
appreciate it more than you know.
thanks, Ricardo. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.